In Austin, I'm Quita Culpepper. Austin's Police Oversight Office released its 2024 annual report this week. The independent, impartial group looks at APD's policies and complaints received from the community and within the department. Malia Masumoto breaks down some of the key points.
Police officers have a lot of eyes on them these days.
I always think more information is better.
But president of the Austin Police Association, Michael Bullock, doesn't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
We have no problems with oversight or accountability. We just want to see that it's done fairly and that it's done within reason.
Since voters approved the Austin Police Oversight Act in 2023, Austin Police Oversight has had access to police records and the ability to gather evidence and interview witnesses.
The primary goal of it was to have just this independent party that's basically watching to make sure everything is being done correctly.
In their new 2024 report, APO made 26 policy recommendations, 8 of which APD implemented.
I think some of the recommendations make sense and they're pretty easy. And then there's other ones that may be larger lifts that require more robust discussion.
Some of those 8 include adding more language to when body cameras should be used, establishing a drone policy, and revising APD's appearance standards to accommodate more hair textures and styles. The report also outlines complaints received externally and internally. Use of force complaints were up more than 60% last year, but the top categories of complaints were for no assistance from APD and lack of courtesy or impartial attitude.
The department goes and looks at the body camera and the officer was extremely professional and was very polite, and so it's super easy to just discount those false complaints right off the bat.
Of the more than 800 complaints from the community, only 125 officers were disciplined, and only 9 of those came from external complaints.
You see a lot more internal complaints that wind up in discipline because internally we have a high standard.
Another finding from the report, not only were complaints up, compliments were too, more than double from last year. So as APO works to provide more insight, the Austin Police Association says they welcome the thoughtful feedback.
It seems like they're trying to look at everything in a balanced way.
Police have identified a man who was shot and killed in North Austin over the weekend, but they're still looking for who pulled the trigger. The shooting happened early Sunday morning in a gas station parking lot on Rutland Drive near Metric Boulevard. Officers found 37-year-old Quinton Arnold on the ground next to his car. If you have any information that could help this investigation, you're asked to call Austin Police. The bond for a former Leander ISD bus monitor accused of indecency with a child has been set at $500,000. Cedar Park Police arrested 70-year-old Stephen Lackey on Monday. The district fired him last Friday before turning everything over to police and Child Protective Services. As Austin ISD continues to gather feedback over its proposed school consolidation plan, some parents say they are still frustrated by the process. Now, one local business is offering support to the communities affected by closures and boundary changes by giving them a free space to meet up and talk about those changes. Here's Kelsey Sanchez.
It really doesn't feel like the school district is listening to families.
There hasn't been as much consideration of the data they put forth.
I think overall the plan is being rushed.
It's frustrating as a parent of Briker Woods.
Some AISD parents are trying their best to understand the changes being proposed by the district. This week, AISD is hosting virtual meetings to discuss closures and boundary changes, and one will happen in person on November 8th. Sig Ridequist and his son ride bikes to his school, Briker Woods Elementary, every day. It's one of 13 campuses facing closure. If that happens, these students will either go to Matthews or Brentwood Elementaries.
I want to take them at their word that they're saying that this is not a final proposal, but it really feels final.
AISD leaders say their meetings are meant to let parents ask questions and give feedback.
We absolutely have to have the trust and confidence as parents and families that it's being done right and that we're going to get it right when we do it.
With only a little over a month left until the final vote, these parents are leaning onto each other, which hasn't gone unnoticed. Kirby Lane Cafe CEO Mason Ayers says he went to a district meeting and heard the stories.
And it's heartbreaking to see these communities that are being deeply impacted.
He's a Briker Woods alum himself. So he says he's offering up meeting spaces at his restaurants to AISD staff and community members so they can get together and navigate the changes.
While there's a personal component for me, it's broadly affecting our entire community.
Some Brecker Woods parents say businesses like Kirby Lane could also be affected by this plan.
Families come eat on the weekends here, or after school they'll come grab a Kirby Lane pancake, or they'll go to the cookie stand across the street. And it's kind of an after-school ritual.
A ritual these parents hope they don't lose.
And that was Kelsey Sanchez reporting. District leaders say the consolidation plan is necessary due to declining enrollment and a budget deficit. And they plan to vote on the entire proposal on November 20th. State Representative Gina Hinojosa is running for governor. The Austin Democrat made the announcement Wednesday, becoming the 5th Democrat trying to challenge Governor Greg Abbott in 2026. Hinojosa has represented Austin in the Texas House of Representatives for the past 10 years. Austin's mayor says the city will remove street art and painted crosswalks to comply with an order from Governor Greg Abbott. Here's Adam Bennett.
On Wednesday afternoon, the Pride Crosswalk at 4th and Colorado still stood in downtown Austin. On the east side, same goes for the Black Artists Matter street painting on 11th Street. 1 week earlier, the state ordered pavement markings like these removed within 30 days.
Erasing this is more proof of the Austin that is, right? This is not an Austin where we care about each other.
More than 3,000 people have signed this online petition calling on city leaders to keep those 2 pieces of street art. I caught up with Mayor Kirk Watson after an unrelated press conference on Wednesday to get his response. For that, are you planning to preserve those pieces of art?
We're going to comply with the law.
If they don't, Watson says, the city risks $175 million worth of grants in the city's Transportation and Public Works Department. Because the edict started at the federal level, Watson worries about endangering dollars for other projects, too.
Just a week before this edict came out, I was on the phone with representatives in D.C. trying to get an additional $100 million grant for the airport. Project Connect.
And while some street markings have no political background,
we clearly know that this has a political edge to it. That's very disappointing when you stop and think of all the issues we have and all the things that we could be talking about and working together on.
Watson told me he's looking for other ways to celebrate Austin's diversity while following state and federal mandates. Maybe using sidewalks or utility poles, or working with the city's boards and commissions to brainstorm ideas. For now, you can still see the rainbow while you hear the clock ticking.
That removal deadline is November 7th, and the mayor says he's not sure when city crews will start to do it. Those are the headlines happening in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper.